Hello again. It seems you're back for more, or back for the first time, which doesn't actually make sense, but we're gonna roll with it because it's funny. Maybe you didn't like Fire Emblem, my last suggested game series, and for some reason you still think I might give you a suggestion you actually like. Perhaps more likely you loved Fire Emblem and said, hey, wonder if Rio has any other suggestions. Well, do I? Of course I do. And here are the completely biased reasons why you should play the Trails in the Sky games. Rio, I'm confused. What is this Trails in the Sky series? Why does it keep changing around names? Why do they all start with The Legend of Heroes? Is there a point where they're going to realize the titles are so long and convoluted that they'll just give up naming them? Well, let me try and clarify for you, confused listener. The Trails series is the biggest sub-series of the Legend of Heroes series, which was a sub-series of the Dragon Slayer series. The first Legend of Heroes game came out in 1989 and was called Dragon Slayer: The Legend of Heroes. All of these games discussed are produced by Nihon Falcom, by the way. The Dragon Slayer series had been going on for 5 years prior to this, but since it's not all that important to this history section, I'll just give it a passing mention. The Trails sub-series did not begin until the 6th game, with the Dragon Slayer duo and then Gagvar, not sure if I pronounced that right, trilogy preceding it. In 2004, though, the game known in the West as Trails in the Sky, or Sora no Kiseki in Japan, began the Trails series. That game was the first in the Trails in the Sky trilogy and focuses mainly on the country of Liberl on the continent of Zumeria, where all the games in the Trails series take place. The second game was a direct sequel to the first game, proceeding only a few hours after the events of the first game, and the third game was a distinct side story with a new main character but a lot of connections to the previous 2 games. Those 3 games, Trails in the Sky First Chapter, Trails in the Sky Second Chapter, and Trails in the Sky Third, make up the Trails in the Sky series. But the story of the continent and many of the characters continued with new games based in other countries in Zemuria. This video will only talk about the Liberl trilogy, though. Trails in the Sky, as I said, is based in the country of Liberl, a small country near 2 larger powers, the Erebonian Empire and the Calvard Republic. And the main character is Estelle Bright, a newly minted bracer, a sort of civilian police force independent of the country they're in. The first game sets up a world going through startlingly quick technological development. Think if the Industrial Revolution didn't have much of a break before getting into the Computer Revolution, or whatever you want to call it. And you get some idea of the thing they call in-game the Orbal Revolution. As this upheaval occurs, tensions emerge within and among the different countries on the continent. Each game puts you in a position of power, and you assemble a cast of other characters to aid you in your missions. The Bracers are the main focus of these 3 games, although less so in the third. The story has so much to it, from political intrigue, economic destitution, tense military conflicts, and shattering realizations. It also has the more quiet, individual moments of heartbreak and joy. The story has many complexities and shines both in the large scale and in its smaller moments. Set among its cute, but not breathtaking like some modern games, art style, and strong music, it's difficult to get through these games without a fair amount of emotions being part of it, at least on the player's side. As you venture through the land, you are faced with requests and other tasks. There are main story quests that are necessary for advancing the plot, and side quests that you can complete. I'd advise completing them, they're very helpful. Some of the tasks involve killing monsters, helping civilians who have gotten themselves in sticky situations, finding lost items, yada yada yada. There are many quests, and for the most part they're quite easy, and thankfully not boring, although some make you want to curse the name LeBlanc to the heavens. Why? Oh, no reason. Idios, help me. That does extend the game's playtime to between 40 to 70 hours for each game, in my experience. Although one of the best quality of life additions I've seen in any game helps with that. Turbo mode means I can now complete the first game in less than 25 hours. just over a full day of playing. Oh dear lord, these games are long. Well, I do definitely think they're worth the time commitment, but if I didn't, I wouldn't be making this video. Onto the combat though. Combat comes in the form of encounters. Most encounters are avoidable, and it is conceivable that you could get through the game without fighting the enemies unless you are absolutely required to. I wouldn't advise it though. You'll get crushed later on in the game without a lot of luck and knowledge on bosses' weaknesses. Combat is turn-based, and for the Trails in the Sky, takes place in a grid system. The grid honestly doesn't play as big a role in strategy as it does for, say, Fire Emblem, so you don't need to be too concerned with it. Turns are generally based off of speed, I think? Can't say I paid attention to it that much, but the turns are taken in some order between your characters and the enemies. The order is seen in a turn bar along the left side of the screen. The order can be altered sometimes by your actions prior to engaging the enemy. Preemptive combat gives you the advantage, and surprise combat gives the enemy the advantage. Both sides attack each other until all the opponents have reached 0 health. Pretty simple. On each character's turn, you have certain commands you can do. Attack is a normal attack against the enemy. Arts are specialized elemental actions that take up EP, energy points, some support, and some attack. Enemies can have weaknesses to certain elements, so you can exploit those weaknesses in order to gain victory. These arts are possible only through orbments, part of the Orbal Revolution, and can be adjusted along with characters' equipment from menus outside of combat. Crafts are special abilities that use CP, craft points. Like arts, they can support or attack, and some have increased chances of inflicting status ailments, such as poison or sleep. Once you get to 100 CP, a red orb appears above the character's status screen in the bottom part of the screen, which you can click at any time to unleash that S-craft, even when it's not your turn. S-crafts are more powerful than regular crafts, usually, and thus can be very useful. If you get the character's CP to 200, max CP, the S-craft cast is even more powerful. You can time these with some of the random bonuses that appear along the turn order to gain powers. Random turn order bonuses could include critical strikes, recovered health, or even a temporary 50% strength boost. They'll appear on the turn bar so you can alter tactics in order to grab a really good boost, or to prevent the enemy from getting it. The next command is Item. You can buy items at stores during the game that give health or EP back, cure status ailments, or even revive knocked out characters when their health reaches 0. There's also the Runaway option for the optional battles if you need it. In the Sky games, Runaway automatically succeeds. Later entries change this though. If you fail a battle though, you can try again, and each time you do, the difficulty for that enemy is reduced. Not the overall difficulty of the game, just for that single enemy swarm. There are changes that happen throughout the games, as with most video game series, but the points I outlined above will get someone through the first game, and the others do a respectable job introducing any new mechanics in. Difficulty-wise, most of the small encounters are easy, but this game has some tough bosses, let me tell you, to the point of being unfair on a couple of them. See the boss of the prologue of Trails in the Sky 2nd chapter for an example. However, you should be able to find a difficulty level that suits your needs no matter how good you are at games like these. As that long section might indicate, there's a lot to combat, and even more when it comes to stats, from agility to strength to arts defense. There's tons to sift through if you're so inclined. I mostly just ignore it all and play at low enough difficulties that it doesn't matter, normal or hard if you're wondering. But if you enjoy tinkering with characters to make them the best they can possibly be, you've got your chance. One mechanic though I haven't yet mentioned, which I think is extremely cool, is the battle experience mechanic. The Trail series has an experience mechanic that discourages grinding because, here's the thing, you don't need to grind. I do occasionally do it anyway, mostly because I want a particular character for a section of the game, and they're simply too underleveled. The games help with this though, with their experience weight system, in quotation marks, which gives ridiculous XP to low-level characters, so catching up is usually pretty easy. That brings me to perhaps my favorite aspect of these games, the characters. Sensing a pattern from the last video yet? The world Falcom has built is impressive, but the best aspect I find of that world is the people inhabiting it. The NPCs are as vibrant as NPCs have been in any game series I've played. And yes, I have played the Witcher series. I'd say they're on comparable levels when it comes to detailed NPCs. Well, at least in character, maybe less so in design. A lot of Trails NPCs look the same. This game wants you to connect with its characters, and does an excellent job of accomplishing that goal. The dialogue is amusing and layered. I even could compose a list of my favorite NPCs in the series. Seriously, they're that detailed, and that's not even getting into the characters you actually play with. The characters on your teams are fantastic. That's what kept me going through the admittedly slow start in the first game. I found a character I connected deeply with, who, incidentally, is still my favorite character in the entire series. I'll leave you to guess who it is. And that character turned my spark of interest into a blazing flame. One of the things that fans have observed is that the writers enjoy taking familiar anime tropes and then complicating them, adding more depth in many cases. The characters are amusing and lively and simply make you care about them. That's why the story for me is so enthralling, because I want to know what happens to these characters. I want to see their ups and downs and understand where they came from and where they're going. I simply can't get enough of these characters, more so than any other series I've had. There are character plot twists, surprises, and depths to characters I never thought I'd like. Outside influences may drive the story most of the time, but seeing the characters' decisions and reactions to these story changes makes them solid characters in my eyes. I would be surprised if you could play these games without finding at least a character you truly connect to, and most likely, more than one. I also want to add in how much personality these games have. The dialogue is shifting and flows nicely between characters, with great dialogue added to by the vast range of expressions for the main characters while they're talking. Seriously, I'll put up a bunch of the main protagonists' various expressions. That's how detailed it is. As one might expect, that happens for the NPCs as well. I'll even seek out certain NPCs when I land in their area because I love the interactions. You don't just get that personality from the people though. There is an unexpected place for those witty interactions. Can you guess it? Yes, in the chests of the game. If you loot a chest and then return to it, there will be a unique phrase. This happens in every single Trails in the Sky game, and it is wonderful and also a testament to Xseed, the localizers, for dedicating so much creativity to this aspect of the game. Some make me laugh out loud, some tell me a story, and some may have made me cry at a point. Won't say when, that would be a spoiler. Needless to say, no game I've ever encountered has anything like that. I recommend playing these games if you can enjoy or at least tolerate long cutscenes and text-driven games. While the gameplay and combat tend to be fairly intensive when you get into it, if that is all you enjoy about the games, it'll be a difficult journey for you. With this combination of long-form storytelling, intriguing world development, strong characters, good if not great gameplay, and nice music, I find myself coming back over and over to the Trails series. Seriously, the music gets in my head so easily that I sing along while walking in game. Unlike me and many fans of these games as well, you have them all already localized instead of having to wait. Well, unless you get into Trails of Cold Steel. Then you join the rest of us in the waiting game. A game that many Trails fans are familiar with, and not just because of all the fishing mini games we've played. However, that would be a long way off game time-wise. A trilogy of games awaits in Trails in the Sky, fully available on PC. You can pick up games 1 and 2 on PS3 and PSP, but not the third. On to my experience. I picked up the first game after completing some other JRPGs such as Fire Emblem and Valkyria Chronicles. I thought it looked nice and had great reviews on Steam, so I was looking forward to getting into it. The slow going in the beginning caused me to worry that I had made a mistake. But as I said above, my character love and engagement with them and the larger story kept me going. Plus, the great environment, as I've said. Some of which you probably experienced while watching this video. Maybe I even resisted having only music from the third game. Best music in the series! I don't regret sticking with it, obviously, and the gameplay even came around for me as fights became more difficult and therefore I needed better strategies. It is still the characters and story that fascinate me the most, and boy does it get real in those departments. Sometimes a little too real. Trails in the Sky the Third. By the way, I've tried to avoid spoilers, but I'm sorry if any slipped through. Hopefully they weren't too bad like the identity of... Okay, message received. I'll just leave that there. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you haven't already, I hope you join us fans of the Trail series on the continent of Zemuria. Until next time, I'm Rio, and may Adios watch over you.